So, coming up tonight in the Ringside Report, we have NXT's Full Sail partnership has potentially, or by all accounts, ended. We have another major AEW acquisition being made, possibly. We have an update on Asuka's status, having been off screen for over a month now, I would say. We have an update on the Iconics and their wrestling future, or the former Iconics, should we say. We have Freddie Prinze Jr. suggesting reasons for Bray Wyatt's departure, and it may not be what you think. We have one Bo Dallas confirming that he is not done with wrestling. We have WWE issues 24/7 mask mandate. We have Nick Khan hinting at a possible WWE sale. We have Sammy Guevara proposing before Dynamite this week. We did touch on that, but we'll mention it here as a news point. And we have the crying AEW fan. For those of you who don't know that, we'll explain what that was. But we have the crying AEW fan being trolled online and getting a special message, which is a fucking brilliant response. And we'll talk about that some more as well. So that's the Ringside Report for this week. Carl, do you want to kick us off with the first one being NXT Full Sail's partnership?
Absolutely. So, NXT looks like they are moving out of their one-time home and Full Sail University in Florida. It's been reported by Uncle Dave on the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the plan is to permanently use the Performance Center as their new home as of sometime next month or maybe the month after. They're going to be spending a significant amount of time and money in upgrading the look and feel of the Performance Center, which I believe is, they're going to kind of address that as part of the storyline between Karrion and Samoa Joe, kind of breaking part of the arena, and that being the reason why it's getting fixed. But yeah, I think the belief is that, the Performance Center has looked maybe a little bit too dark over the kind of last weeks and months that they've been in there, really. So they want to try and make it brighter, improve the lighting and kind of add a bit more colour to the look and feel of it all. They may also be getting rid of the plexiglass, which they added, obviously, during the COVID times and stuff as well. So, plenty of changes, but it looks as though the contract and the deal that they had with Full Sail, which they recently expanded, I think it was 2019, looks like that has now come to an end. So, yeah, it's unknown whether or not NXT will still look to use, the Full Sail University students to fill out the arenas and things like that, or what's next. But what do you make of them using the Performance Center as their new home?
I'm actually more intrigued by whether you're bothered by this, because for me, I'm totally fine. I never had an issue with the CWC, they call it now, the Performance Center. Never had an issue with them using that venue. It seems that, it seems fine for what they want. And I always thought the preference for Full Sail came from people who loved NXT from old. So I'm curious, do you have any special affinity for Full Sail, being an old school NXT fan?
I think it wasn't so much the venue itself, but it was more the crowd. It was, you'd have your regulars, the people you'd see there all the time. Obviously, a name escapes me now. There's obviously that girl who was obsessed with Bayley, for example, and she would always be there in the front row and stuff like that with a little Bayley headband on.
Because am I right in saying, I could be wrong on this, but I've always been told that it's a little bit of a nonsense having the two separate locations because they're so close to each other that you get in the same audience. Is that true? I mean, could we still potentially, I think you touched on it then, but we could still potentially get the Full Sail students at the venue, because it's not, by all accounts, not too far away at all.
No, it's entirely possible. They're both in Orlando or just on the outskirts of Orlando in Florida. So, reasonably you should be able to get the same audience. But yeah, I think it's one of them, as you say, from a nostalgia thing. That's where NXT grew up. So it'd be, I think, a shame to leave that behind. But interested to see what changes they make to the production.
I'd be interested to see whether it's because all right, that's the deal done, and that's them not using it on any sort of regular basis. But that's not to say that on very special occasions when you're celebrating a particular anniversary, whichever, that they couldn't book the venue out. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
I do not necessarily a totally done deal. It just means that it's not going to be as contracted or regular as it was. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
All the stuff they've done to save money, this isn't the worst, is it?
Well, yeah, that is true. But by all accounts, they're obviously looking to tweak the format of the show as well, to kind of put more focus on the actual the trainees and the emerging talent. So I think that, in conjunction with obviously giving the set a bit of a refresh and the kind of look and feel, the lighting and stuff, a bit of a refresh, then yeah, who knows what the presentation will look like going forward.
That's it, yeah. So yeah, be interesting to see. Interesting to see. Wednesday Night War really fucked these guys up, right?
What do you mean?
Sorry, the war that never happened.
Yeah.
Like out of Game of Thrones, this shit, didn't it? The war that never happened. So next one I've got, Carl, is an alleged another big signing from AEW. Now this is a little bit muddled because no one's sure what was meant by this, but sources close to AEW, who apparently would know about these sort of things, have stated that a new major AEW acquisition is coming into the company soon. And this is on the back of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan being confirmed. Daniel Bryan apparently looking more likely. We know CM Punk's back, but Daniel Bryan looking more likely to be appearing sometime in September, allegedly 22nd. But this suggestion, it comes on the back of that, so we know it's not going to be referencing either of those two, but it's heavily suggested that it could be referencing Ric Flair. And that's like, we've already had the rumors about Ric Flair, but this doesn't really clarify anything beyond that. No one's gone, there's not Ric Flair, and that obviously would be a major signing. However, I want to talk about the fact that people believe heavily that Ric Flair, because he didn't have a non-compete with WWE because he had his Legend contract, and he's appeared on Triple Mania. He's obviously close to Andrade, and it makes sense. Here's my belief, Carl. So we're going slightly away from news here, but here's my belief. I think Rick isn't going to sign with AEW because I don't think Rick is going to sign with anyone. I don't think that means that Rick isn't going to appear on AEW, but it'll be in a similar vein to how a lot of people have appeared, where it's like, a temporary agreement, 4 showings or something like that. You know what I mean? Because it'd be cool to have him there, but I don't think he's going to sign any sort of deal. So when they're referring to a major acquisition, I don't think this is Rick. And fuck it, I'll go for the other popular rumor. Could this be Bray Wyatt?
Interesting.
Because that would be an acquisition. That'd be someone you'd want to sign. That'd be somebody you'd want to make all elite. I honestly don't think Rick will ever be all elite, because why would he need to be? He wanted the freedom away from WWE to go wherever the fuck he wanted. Why would he sign to another company and be contractually obliged to that company? He's obviously going to he'll happily make appearances by all accounts. So why the fuck wouldn't you just sign him that way? So personally, and that's the rumor mill side of it for me, I think this acquisition could be hinting towards Bray Wyatt. What do you make of it?
I mean, I would like to see it. So if it could happen, then that would be good. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird, wasn't it? I think obviously the way the article, the way it was put across, was as well as CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. They're looking to have another kind of major signing. So it's like, well, it doesn't even include D-Bry himself. So when you look at who's available, it's either going to be someone like Braun or someone like Bray potentially, unless they are just talking about Rick. But to your point, yeah, will he sign something that restricts his ability to appear at other? I mean, not that an AEW contract does, to be fair. So who knows? Maybe
no, it doesn't.
Something.
But I don't get why. Because look at I just don't get why you'd sign anything. It's as stupid as it sounds, but you had Matt Cardona turned up for 4 or 5 episodes of AEW and fucked off to wherever he wanted. I just don't get why you'd need to have any sort of contract with them when you can agree a sort of a per show kind of deal or payments. That I think that'd suit Rick better. And honestly, no offense to Rick, he's an absolute legend, but would you want him long term? Would they want to sign him long term? What would be the point? And I think it's more the inference of major acquisition for me, that I'm like, well, if it's a very temporary thing with Rick, that's not that major, other than the fact it's Rick.
It depends how temporary it'll be. Obviously, they've got Arn working for them. They've got Tully. So what's another horseman? But
I mean, that could be one thing they're hinting towards, is the horseman, getting closer to the horseman. But
and maybe they're just going to sign him for his his ability to work with others and kind of give them some tips and tricks of his trade.
What you do a funky walk, and then you
yeah. Get a bathrobe, get some rhinestones, go nuts.
I'm gonna get some shit for that. He's obviously a legend in the business, and he does more than that.
You're a terrible person. He's
I
definitely.
saw that picture on the train. He definitely does more than that.
That's not being proven.
I
I just want to say that has not been proven to be him.
That's probably why we didn't put it in the news.
I don't want any kind of defamation lawsuits coming, and if so, Direct them just to Anthony, please. But yeah, so
Ric Flair, the train riding.
uh,
I won't finish that one actually.
no,
Please
please
take on.
Please don't. So yeah, so interesting one. I think obviously major new signing does make you think. Is it going to be someone on the level of a Bray Wyatt, or is it going to be, I don't know, maybe someone from Japan or somewhere else? Who
I feel
knows?
like an
Maybe it
asshole
is.
because you mentioned Braun, and I'm like, my head just went, he major, but I suppose he is a big deal in a way. Like, I don't know, wouldn't be major to me. I'd be like, oh, cool.
Anthony just dropping bombs on this ringside
That would
report.
be like them going, we've signed Ryback. I'm like, really? On the back of saying you've got Punk and Bryan, like that's what you're coming at us with? It's like, no offense to the guys, but like, I don't think Braun would be the same level of signing, so you can't expect as big a deal, can you? Do you know what I mean? And that's again, no offense to Braun, but like they just signed two guys who are arguably the greatest in the business, being Punk and Bryan, or have both been named that at some point in their careers. It has to be someone fucking big, doesn't it? After that.
I mean, it's interesting. They've got so many eyeballs on them now after the Punk thing. Obviously, they've got Daniel Bryan Danielson, apparently making his appearance in the New York show in the next kind of month or so. So,
Yeah, well, I've heard it's the I can't. They had a name for the particular show, but I've heard it was the 22nd of September was going to be the show appeared at. But
yeah,
again, nothing fully confirmed.
no. But yeah, it remains to be seen. I'm all for the major signings as long as they can fit them in and do something good with them, and they haven't let us down so far. So
I have not.
see. So the next one to talk about, where is Asuka? I don't know. Have you asked her?
Where is Asuka?
So we haven't seen her on WWE TV since June, I think it was. Oh no, I think she was in the Money in the Bank, wasn't she? So like July. But she hasn't really been prominent since then, really. So yeah, that's led a lot of people to be like, well, where is she? Is she injured? Is something going wrong? According to Uncle Dave again, no, she's fine. She was even there at the most recent Raw taping in catering, but basically left early because she found out she wasn't being booked for anything on the show.
So they've got nothing for her.
Which
Fucking.
I'm not being funny, and again, no disrespect to a lot of the women on the roster, but they're finding a consistent amount of time for fucking Eva Marie.
Not even that, Carl. And this is again probably a bit mean, but like you've none for Asuka, but you can make a clusterfuck of a tag team match that involved Nia fucking Jax.
Yeah, that's I don't know. The whole thing baffles me. We haven't even seen Naomi or anyone, have we? In ages, so it's just nothing really makes sense.
Oh, WWE. Just make you laugh, isn't it?
I know.
It's all about Charlotte.
Yeah. So yeah, weird one. But yeah, Asuka is just sat there and they have nothing for her. So crazy thing. Yeah. So bit of a short one, but still.
It's okay because we've got Charlotte and Evil Charlotte. They're what you get all the time now. Don't even worry about it. Goth Charlotte.
Not good at all.
Anyway, next one, Carl. Next one. Speaking of women who've been underused in WWE. The Iconics had obviously been released, and the 90-day no compete clause actually expired on July the 14th. So a lot of speculation of where they're going has been up in the air, and still is. So no news here. Sorry, move on. No, but basically, it's been heavily suggested 2 places. Surprisingly, AEW has not been one of the ones named as the heavily suggested rumors. Obviously, in the mix initially, but apparently there's been some interest from Impact. However, there's no deal been signed or anything confirmed in that sense. But the more interesting one, and to be honest, I'm not sure how I feel about it, is that apparently there's been a lot of interest from a new wrestling promotion which is being set up, which is, I believe, going to be called NGW, which is a all women's wrestling promotion. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a really good idea for them as a company because they are well-known names and you're a new company establishing yourself, so it makes sense. But is it the best thing for the Iconics? Like, I'd be kind of surprised, especially when you can probably sign with a company such as Impact and or AEW and still be able to work with this all-women's promotion, because it's not like there's that much of a problem with this inter-promotion working, So I'd be very surprised if it's just this NGW company. But by all accounts, they are being teased, or whichever, that this might be the signing for them, which again be a great boom for that company.
Yeah, I'd like to hope, and again, no disrespect to this new company, but I'd like to hope that these two, with the level of charisma they've got and the level of talent they've got, that they'll find themselves on a bigger platform. So,
and that's the only thing. Like you say, it's no disrespect to the company, but it's about platforms, isn't it? And the biggest eyes are one of those three. They're not with WWE, so it's going to be AEW or Impact is going to be the biggest eyes for them. So.
Yeah, I'd happily take them on AEW. To be fair, I think they'd add something good to the show. But obviously, Impact would also make sense. Even potentially Ring of Honor or something like that could work as well. But yeah, I think ideally AEW or Impact would make the most sense.
I think it's only right to mention as well that they'd need to sort work visas to obviously continue, because they're both Australian, so they need to sort work visas to continue to stay in the country. And I'm not saying that's particularly difficult to sort, but with a bigger company, it would be a lot easier as well. So that might be a deciding factor.
Yeah, good point. I think Cassie is basically just a convincing thingy to marry her. It's true. That's one way to get one.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
I'll do it.
So yeah, next piece of news. Former WWE writer Freddie Prinze Jr. Yes, that's right.
Which still fucking messes with my head.
Fred from Scooby-Doo, the guy from She's All That, and
Sandy from Friends.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, he has given us some insight into the release of Bray Wyatt. Basically said, I can tell you everything I know. I know Bray. I wouldn't say we're friends, we're acquaintances, but I still have friends at the company. And like I said earlier, if you're gonna work on a specific way, even if you have a bad match, in the eyes of the top two dudes, it's a good match because you're doing business their way. If you're going to step, out of that lane and widen your river, or just show there's some other streams, even if you've got a great match, then it's just a good match. And if you stick to your gun time and time again, they're going to stick to theirs. He said, Vince is a product of the 80s, as is Kevin Dunn. So, yeah, they basically, when things work, or even when they don't, they'll just double down for better or worse. And he doesn't think that Bray had a good enough hand to play poker with them in that sense. So he reckons that's the main reason he lost in the Saudi Arabia show. And then that's why things have kind of gone a bit south for him since then as well. So, yeah, interesting take on that, really. Almost
makes a lot of sense. And why they have to lean so much on legends coming back, because they new talents just can't be fucking made with that kind of mentality.
No, it's interesting that they've, because basically what I'm alluding to from all that roundabout way of what he said is that they have told him to do something a certain way, and he's gone, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be a bit different, or,
Yeah, so he's not a company guy.
Yeah, and so they're like, well, if you're going to do that, then we're just not going to book you at all then. So they've just, kind of had a bit of a falling out in that sense. But, creative differences, basically what it seems to be alluding to from that. So they did what any, doubling down corporation would do, and they just basically stole his gimmick, binned him off, and continued to try and flog a dead horse.
Yeah, and there's your mask in a trash bag.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Wyatt family, Cal.
I like that.
Thanks. Bray's brother, Bo. Right? Yeah, it's harder to say than you think, right? Obviously, Bo Dallas was also released. I want to say before Bray. Feels like it was a while ago now. And a lot of people believe that he was sort of quite happy. He's that's him done now. He's going to live on a farm with Liv Morgan, and that's him for the rest of his days, which I wouldn't have blamed him, right? But by all accounts, in a recent interview, he's actually confirmed that he is 1,000% not done with professional wrestling, and has basically said that he is looking for the right thing. He's trying to find something that he can really sink his teeth into before making his return. So he wants to make it very clear he's definitely not done, but he's taken the time to find his next something, to find his next goal, because he doesn't just want to jump into anything. It wants it to be something that he really loves and he's passionate about, which I can totally get. So it could very well be that we see Bo Dallas back on it. Well, probably not under the name Bo Dallas, but it could be that we see him back on our screen soon enough. Which, to be honest, I thought we're probably never going to see that. It seemed like he was quite content as he was, but he's even expressed his sort of displeasure, which is something he's not, I don't think, been very vocal on before, but in that, he doesn't feel he's ever been allowed to be creative with what he was doing, and he's been given the right opportunities, which, again, I don't think he's ever been the type of guy to talk shit, but he's made that very clear as well, that there is stuff he'd love to do that he's never had the opportunity to do, which I don't think is an unfair statement.
Did somebody just get the write-up from, Freddie Prinze Jr. and get the wrong brother? Basically, Rotunda upset because he can't be as creative as he wants to be.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Funny, isn't it? Funny how all these released talents are echoing a similar sentiment.
Yeah, weird that.
It's definitely not WWE's fault.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Bo Dallas is he was proper over in his NXT times. That whole Bo Leave character and stuff that. And then
I didn't really watch NXT at that point, so I only ever got the B team and that. What was he doing when he was in? What was he called? The Social Outcasts or whatever.
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff that just never landed. Landed.
No, he was much better as the Bo Leave kind of stuff. But yeah, obviously similar to Bray, they've obviously got minds for the business. Their dad has been in the business for how many years, so they've grown up.
He's also been released though.
Well, yeah. So basically, Vince just hates the Rotunda family.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so weird one, but interesting that he's open to being back, and mad props to the guy anyway. He could quite happily just sit at home on his farm with Liv Morgan, live happily ever after. But no, he wants to get
live happily ever after. He did that.
So yeah, interesting one. The next one. So apparently, WWE have issued a 24/7 mask mandate to wrestlers and staff. They're really taking this 24/7 title a bit too far, aren't they?
I know, yeah. It's probably going to go down as well as the 24/7 title, this mandate.
So, yeah, as we saw at SummerSlam, the fans in attendance were asked to wear masks. And that has also kind of been, sent to the everyone who works for the company as well, basically. So they are requested to wear masks at all times, except while eating or drinking. There was talk, wasn't there? There was concerns that SummerSlam might not even go ahead, just because of how, rampant the Delta variant's been over there, especially in the likes of Florida and places like that. So they were worried, obviously, for Nevada, whether or not it was going to go ahead. Obviously, it did, but they're just trying to introduce all these kind of protocols just to make sure, I think, that they can continue to operate in that way. But yeah, I don't know, small minor one to talk about there, but interesting. Indeed. Little bit of news, little tidbit for you.
Yeah, an interesting one to say the least. So, speaking of WWE, I don't know, that's a bad segue. Speaking of WWE, Carl. So very recently, Nick Khan has been interviewed, not to be mistaken for Tony, right? And they were asking about, among many things, the suggestion of Vince McMahon retiring, and Nick Khan sort of taking the helm. Like, would that be something that happens when he retires? Nick Khan said basically that Vince McMahon is, 72? I forget how old Vince McMahon is. He said he's healthy, he's fine. He probably reckons he could go for another 50 years. Obviously, an exaggeration. So he said, basically, ask me in 49 years. Like, ha ha ha. So he's not answering that question because there's no sign of Vince McMahon wanting to take his hands off the wheel at any point. The interesting thing that came from this interview, though, Carl, when asked about these rumours about a sale of the company, he has basically said, and I'll paraphrase here, that there are no actual talks happening, but WWE is willing to listen. So if someone, they're all happy to have talks, they're open for business in that sense. And if someone come along and wants to suggest something like that, or suggest anything for that matter, they are more than happy to open up talks. So he's made it very heavily suggested that, yeah, we're more than happy to sell the company if the right offer was made, which is surprising, to be honest. But yeah, so what do you make of this one? Because it's not a yes, obviously, because there isn't actually anything. Like, he's made it very clear they're not actively looking to sell it. But the fact that you're saying, well, we'll listen to whoever calls, is it's a big statement to make, really.
It's a crazy thought to think that there'll ever be a time where WWE won't be run by the McMahons or like Triple H or someone of that ilk. But the fact is, especially the way that it's not a pro wrestling company; it's an entertainment company, and the way they've got all these deals with the likes of Fox and stuff like that. You could see someone like Disney buying them.
Turn into some fucking Mickey Mouse wrestling company would be ridiculous.
Got fucking superheroes, on there every 2 minutes, and
Oh Jesus! It would turn into something else, wouldn't it? It becomes something totally fucking different.
Yeah.
Like no offense to Disney, but it really would, wouldn't it? Like Disney, can you imagine like it's a Disney Princess Battle Royal? Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they've got Disney are working with who is it? Is it AAA?
AAA have they have a deal with
The Marvel stuff, don't they?
Well, obviously Disney, isn't it, on level, but they can use the Marvel characters, so they have like Thor and Hulk in matches and stuff.
So could be stuff like that, but no, I don't know. I think obviously it's entirely possible, and it's almost probable that eventually the company will be sold for a healthy sum, but it's a worry then because once it's owned by someone else, there's no real motive to keep someone like Triple H or Stephanie or anyone there, and a lot of people will be like, that's a great thing, and others will be like, well, that's the heart and soul of WWE and what it is. So if Vince does decide one day, do you know what, I'm done with it, then it's
It's funny, like for a company that like I think we've probably always thought will eventually be taken over by the McMahon children, or as time went on, Triple H, to have it now that it actually feels a lot more likely that when Vince goes, the company kind of goes. It's crazy.
It'd be weird if it doesn't get taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law.
And the rest of his stupid family.
Hi, Paul Cabana.
Because I still low key like, and it's not going to happen in the more I think about it. It's like, well, it doesn't even need to. But like, I'm like quietly thinking, so if Tony Khan was to call, you're gonna listen to that call if he makes the right offer. But I don't even think Tony Khan would bother. Like, let some company who has no interest in wrestling take it over, and then you just sort of deal with all the people who come out of the company. Like, I don't want to be a part of this now.
Yeah,
people like CM Punk who want to be in pro wrestling aren't going to go to WWE if that's the case, I think.
No, I mean, obviously, the amount of money they'd want for it, we were talking in the billions.
It would be ridiculous. So I can't see. Khan would have to get his dad to like really invest a lot of money in wrestling to buy that company.
Yeah.
And especially when it's like, well, we've already got a company that's like doing leaps and bounds in the couple of years that it's existed. Do we really need to? No, they probably don't. But
no.
I keep waiting for a moment, when it's like you just open Raw one day and it's Tony Khan in the ring and you're like, oh shit, this is happening. You know what I mean? I want another moment where like when WCW started and it was Vince McMahon. I want another moment like that. That's all I want.
I mean, it writes itself, doesn't it? The name on the contract does say Khan, and it's like, but it's actually Tony Khan, not Nick Khan. Yeah, it'd be perfect. So yeah.
Well, we'll open with Becky Lynch. Like, the name of the contract doesn't say McMahon; it says the Man. Sorry, bad joke.
Don't give them ideas, please. So again, another small one, but just more of a congratulations to a friend of the show, Sammy Guevara, on obviously his engagement to longtime girlfriend Pam Nizio. He proposed to her. I'm not sure whether was it on Dark. I think it was on Dark. Before Dynamite this past week.
Was it because they can't? It must get confusing because I think they showed it on Dynamite, didn't they? But
yeah,
it may have been the Dark before. I think they just showed the clip, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. But obviously, we got to see that. Proposed to in the middle of the ring. Obviously, she said yes. So yeah, just a big congratulations to Sammy.
She
really.
said yes. There was absolutely no pressure from thousands of fans at all. I kid, of course, I kid.
I know, yeah. And anyone who does one of them kind of proposals where it's just in front of like hordes and hordes of people, like they are just going, okay, this will make you say yes. Like,
yeah. Well, it'd be the most awkward no in history.
I know. Oh, well, we've seen it. We've seen a few, haven't we? But no. So yeah, raise of the glass. Not as much in it, but raise of the glass.
Mine's empty.
So yeah, cheers to Sammy and Pam.
Clink. Yeah, no, cheers, guys. Congratulations. You're going to love it. Right. Next one, Carl. And last one, actually. Typical internet wrestling community. So we saw on CM Punk his debut or return to wrestling, but his debut on Rampage, we saw a particular fan in the audience taking it in very emotionally, crying, hand out like that. You've seen the picture going around. Really caught up in the moment and really emotional about it. And typical internet wrestling community, apparently we're not allowed to get emotional about wrestling anymore. Perfectly fine when Shawn Michaels retired Ric Flair, you were allowed to bawl your eyes out then, but not now. No, you're not allowed to get emotional about things. And you know what? Yeah, fair enough. Some people aren't that way out. It didn't make me cry. It was cool. Give me goosebumps. It was a great moment. But, this guy, he wears his heart on his sleeve and felt his emotions and took a lot of shit on the internet for it, naturally. But, he had the last laugh because, as it turns out, one Tommy Dreamer has put... Thank you for listening at Busted Open Radio. This is on Twitter, by the way. Great show and crying CM Punk fan. Get a hold of me or at Busted Open Radio. I'm going to fly you to Impact Wrestling BFG. I heart your passion. I will also hit up CM Punk and Tony Khan for ticks or a meetup, or a meet and greet. Fuck the haters online. We appreciate you. Which is fucking a stellar thing to do because. They obviously, Tommy Dreamer's hit it right on the head. They want impassioned fans. They want people to love the business. So the minute someone, physically shows the emotion, he just gets nothing but shit. I think it's a great thing to do. And that guy's going to get to meet CM Punk and he's got some tickets to Impact. So fucking win-win.
Yeah, definitely.
Although Dynamite's just going to be a flood of people fucking crying now.
Yeah. They'll never be able to do a fucking a camera cut again to the crowd. But yeah, no, it's one of them, isn't it? Internet trolls and stuff like that. Dudes from Chicago, he's probably massive CM Punk fan. He's probably waited years and years to see him return, and being there, seeing it live, everything, emotions can take you over. But that's the point.
I'll be insanely honest about this, right? I'm there, I'm not the type of person to go on the internet and give him shit for it, but I'm there, crying's a bit much. But then, like you say, I'm not a Chicago native. I wasn't there live. So it was a totally different experience for him than it was for me. So I can't really sit here at home in the UK watching it going, crying's a bit much. He's obviously, that's how he dealt with it. And, at the end of the day, like you say, he might be this type of person. He loves Chicago. He loves CM Punk. He's loved it all his life. And it got him. You know what I mean? We've seen people get emotional wrestling before. So
yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's a form of entertainment. If you ever cried at a film, ever cried at a TV episode, there's.
Only when Tony Stark died.
Well, there you go. But everyone's different, aren't they? Obviously, it affected this guy in this way. He cried. He's put his emotion out there. It goes to show what pro wrestling means to him, what CM Punk means to him, and if AEW can cause that level of emotion for someone, then they're doing something right, in my opinion. So yeah, everyone getting on his back, just get a life.
Well, thanks to the internet trolls, he's going to meet CM Punk in person.
Well, there you go. Yeah, so fuck you. And I bet they're the ones crying now. So
they're sat there going, CM Punk's overrated anyway. He should have been in WWE.
Oh yeah, all anonymous online, hidden behind the little weird avatars and the weird name profiles. That you'd never dream of actually putting this out there under their real names and stuff. But
of course not.
That's the world we live.
But that's the end of the news, Carl. That's the last one.
That's the end of the
Dreamer's
news.
An awesome guy.
No news ever again. The news season finale.
We're done with the news.
That's it. No more news. But yeah, some interesting ones there. A couple of nice moments, Sammy and stuff like that. A couple of just interesting, thought-provoking tidbits, especially stuff around who this other major signee might be for AEW. But yeah, all in all, a lot of stuff going down.
Totally agree.
And
boy, oh boy, are we going to get to talk about the biggest pay-per-view? No, not really. One of the big. Okay, a pay-per-view that happened this.
You did pay. You paid for that. You paid to see this. And we're going to let you know our thoughts. Obviously we're not an open book, so yeah, I'm guessing that you'll be on the edge of your seats with suspense on how we felt about the show. But yeah, we're going to be talking about SummerSlam right after this.
You're watching or listening
to A to the K.
The A2theK.
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 These guys are awesome. Check it out.
Check it out. Change your life. You'll be thanking me later.